All right. I'm a very big fan of Earl Sweatshirt's music. He's honestly like my favorite rapper. I love his dejected, monotone delivery. I think his lyrics are often poignant and introspective in a way I find compelling, and just his general artistry, like especially on a record like some rap songs in particular. I think the way he uses sampling to communicate emotion is a really interesting follow up to what artists like Madlib and J Dilla were doing, and it's really remarkable how specific of moods he's able to evoke. But I wanted to do a video where I talk about how he presents his own struggle with mental health in his art, because I find it to be one of the most interesting things about like his artistry, and I think there's a lot we can learn from it. And he often presents depression very clinically. Like for example, in the song "Nowhere to Go," I spent most of my life depressed. Only thing on my mind was death. It's so matter of fact, blunt, and sort of straightforward, and he never breaks from that signature kind of monotone delivery. And what I find interesting about that is that it can be hard to tell what he's even trying to communicate when this stuff is presented this way. But I think he's a really strong example of an artist that's not making their mental health into a spectacle. Because don't get me wrong, there's plenty of really profound and affecting works of art that involve the person making it sort of making a spectacle of their own life, or making a grand show of their life experiences. And there's definitely room for that. But what draws me to Earl's music specifically is that he presents depression not as an obstacle to overcome or a battle to win, but rather just something that you live with. It's not a curse inflicted by the universe. It's just sort of chemical imbalances in our brain, and we have to deal with it the best we can, because otherwise our life will just pass us by. And movingly, in his some of his more recent works, whether it be Vordur or Live, Laugh, Love, he shows that the struggle of existing while mentally unwell, it doesn't necessarily ever completely go away, but it doesn't mean that you can't live a more fulfilling life, or that it won't get easier later on. And I think a song like Tourmaline is a pretty strong example of that. There's beauty in the world, and that part never changes, but sometimes our perception makes it really hard to see that. But just as often as Earl returns to the motif of, gray clouds passing and the sun peeking through, so too can we embrace the silver lining of our day-to-day lives. So I think it's worth thinking about. All right, God bless you. Have a great day.